Welcome to Pauline Interviews. Before I get started on a really fascinating topic, sound healing, I want to thank New Renaissance Bookstore and Claire for letting me use their wonderful event center here. Just to let you know, New Renaissance is a wonderful place. It's on Northwest 23rd, and if you like books on healing, metaphysics, all kinds of things, also they have beautiful chimes, candles, jewelry, essential oils. There's so many things. I won't make a list now, but just come and take a look at New Renaissance. So today, my guest is Shalom Mayberg. And Shalom, I don't know how you want to title yourself, but you do a lot of things. You do yoga, you do Reiki, but we're going to talk about sound healing. But you combine all those modalities, don't you?
I do.
But before we get going, you have a little interesting history behind you. You started out as a police officer. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me here today. When I was growing up in Miami, Florida, we were, outdoorsy and going to the beach and going to the Everglades. And as I got older and went through college, university in Miami, we had to do an internship for summer. And the organization that I chose was this law enforcement department, and they were doing some good stuff for the environment as well. It wasn't just only police work, and so I got involved with them, and then just really loved it and applied, and did that for 2.5 years, and then started getting a little bit questionable about what I was doing there. And
how so?
I wasn't feeling fulfilled. I wasn't feeling like I was doing the most that I could be doing for myself and for others. It started to become a little bit routine and the same problems over and over. And so I decided to take a step back. But
when you were at the university, what was your course of study?
Environmental science with a minor in marine biology.
Oh, okay. I could see maybe how that would take you in a different path for a little bit.
Yeah, so I was a marine patrol officer on a boat enforcing some of the rules on the waterways.
Oh, there's a connection there.
Exactly.
Okay, so then after you left the police force, and what did you were thinking? Were you thinking, I'm just going to try something different, or did you already have some idea of what you wanted to do?
I knew I was going to go to India.
Why?
So years ago, before this, my brother, who's 7 years older than me, went to India on a mission through the United Nations. And he came back with photographs of the places that he was at and the things that he was doing. And something inside of me got lit up. And it just never went away. Every couple of years, this fire would just light up, and it would be India. And I knew nothing about it other than just the pictures that I saw. There wasn't much on the internet, if there even was internet back then. And then when I quit, or even before I quit the law enforcement job, I knew that I was going to go to India and do a yoga teacher training there. And so that was my plan. I bought a one-way ticket, left the job. They were going to hold my position for me for when I got back if I wanted to return. And so, 2010, I took off on a one-way ticket to India.
Were you interested in yoga before?
I was. I started practicing yoga in 2000 in Brooklyn, New York, where I was in Brooklyn College for a semester. And
you get around.
Yeah.
That's great.
It runs in the family.
I like to do that too. I understand. Yeah. So yoga is a great a discipline. It's let's talk just briefly about yoga, just a little bit.
Sure. Yoga is a doorway into ourselves, into the world around us, into our physical body, into our emotions, into the connections between the two. And it's a very personal practice on bringing ourselves to a place of contentment and stillness and spaciousness.
Is that because of the breath work involved and the mindfulness?
A lot of it definitely has to do with the breath work that you're constantly engaged in while moving or while in stillness, and that connection between mind, body, emotions, or mind, body, spirit. I feel that personally, the breath is the key that unlocks that connection between all of it.
It's almost meditative too. You get away from the outside world, and it's more of an internal world thing.
Some some yoga movement practices are more meditative, and some are more for exercise.
That's right. There's several different kinds. So, how did you go from yoga to? Well, we have some beautiful crystal bowls here. We want to definitely talk about those. How did you go from yoga to sound?
So, the interesting connection between sound and yoga is that they're not different. I was trained in India. I did both of my yoga teacher trainings there in an ashram in northern India. And using our voice, chanting, and leading guided meditations was a really big part of the training. So every day, for example, in the training, we would have an hour-long segment of just chanting mantra. And it wasn't just chanting mantra to learn the mantra. There were reasons and purposes to chant mantra, some for healing, some for protection, and so on and so forth. But also some of the mantras, at least half of them that we learned, were part of the yoga movement, the yoga asana aspect. So before you even start your practice, you chant a mantra. Before you do your breath work, you chant a mantra. Before you do your Surya Namaskar, your sun salutations, there's a mantra, and each name of a different deity is connected to a different pose in those sun salutations. So they're intertwined completely.
Fascinating. So the mantra is really creating a sound, and sound is energy. And does it clear your energy field or prepare your energy field, or how does that work?
Yeah, so for example, Om, right?
Om.
So many people chant that in the beginning.
It feels good doing it.
It does. I actually recently started meditating with Om, just chanting Om over and over and over. It's the seed to our existence. It's the seed to the existence of all of the galaxies and this universe that we're in. It's that vibrational sound, and so if we can tune into it, if we can connect ourselves more consciously to that seed of awareness and growth, then we are connecting in this physical life more. We're enhancing that connection. So I started meditating with Om, and after about 5 or 10 minutes, I go into this space of just like kind of, a meditative space, and that's when like magic just happens, when we're connected to that seed of awareness or seed of connection or growth.
Don't we get intuitive hits then? I mean, if we're looking for some information, wherever it's channeled from, you get the information comes to you.
Sure.
It's a wonderful connection.
Yeah.
So how do we go from there to the crystal bowls?
Right. So in India, I was teaching some yoga classes, and I would chant. We would all chant Om in the beginning and at the end, but then during, I would chant the mantras that I was taught during the classes, and then I would usually end with a yoga nidra, which is a guided meditation. Some are 10 minutes and some are an hour long. And so I would always end the class with that. And people came up to me and they would start telling me how they enjoyed hearing my voice, and it was nurturing and it was comforting, and if I had an album and so on and so forth. And so I started hearing that, and it made me think like, oh, okay, there's something there that I wasn't aware of. So it was by sheer feedback from other people that I started to realize that there's something really important with mantra. And that also my voice was pleasant to hear and nurturing and comforting and supportive.
Voice is important. You do have a good voice.
Thank you.
Broadcasting. No, voice is important. Some people's voices are strident. Other people, they just make you feel good.
Yeah.
Good vibration. Good sound.
So I started chanting more. I started doing more guided meditations, and how I use that with the crystal bowls is that I'll harmonize and throat sing during the sound bath at different parts of it. So that's the connection between using my voice, vocals, and sound healing. But how sound healing came in was a little bit of a different story, but connected.
We have time. Go ahead.
Yeah, great. So I went to a sound bath when I was in South Florida between one of my trips to India, and I just had a very profound experience. My aunt had came to me, who was no longer living at the time, and she told me all sorts of wonderful things.
Wow.
And at the end she said, she literally put out her hand and she said, I'll guide you, I'll take care of you, I'll lead you through wherever it is that you're going, I'll be your voice. And that really just shook me up in a fantastic way.
I can imagine.
Yeah. And when I was in India for my second trip, it was my longest trip. I was there for 6 months. And I started getting this feeling that I needed to find crystal bowls. I needed, my heart, my soul was calling for it. And I went around in this town in Rishikesh, and there were only Tibetan bowls. There weren't crystal bowls. And I went to a Tibetan bowl, the metal ones, the brass and other metals. I went to a sound bath that had Tibetan bowls, and it didn't speak to me as much as the crystal bowl sound bath did the first time. And so I kind of put it on the back burner for the time being. And when I went back to South Florida between my next trip, someone had mentioned that there was a person doing sound healing in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and that I should go. And I often take people's recommendations, and I went, and that's where I met my teacher, Deborah Kelly, and where for the next 2 years, every Thursday, I would go and support her in her sound bath experience. And I would either play the bowls and chant and harmonize, or lead some movement as well. And I did that for 2 years. And the moment she met me, she said, "Do you want to play the crystal bowls?" And I said, "Yeah," and I don't know how. And so she showed me, and I really apprenticed under her.
And there are 7 different bowls, aren't there, according to your 7 chakras?
Yeah, there are 7 different bowls that most people use, and it does correspond to the 7 main energy points.
Right.
But there are also other bowls that correlate to other chakras that aren't the usual 7.
Yeah, we actually have more. We just kind of focus on the 7 main ones.
Right. For example, this crystal bowl here has 3 different notes in there, and it works the high heart and the thyroid. So I don't necessarily use it when I'm playing a sound bath. I'll just use the 7, but this is before for a meditation that I do.
And for fun, so people understand what we're talking about, we're going to do part 2. We're going to do some demonstrations.
I can't wait.
That should be interesting. So with the crystal bowls, now would the metal bowls do the same? Even though you don't resonate with them as much, it still accomplishes the same thing though, doesn't it?
Yeah, more or less it does. It's used in different ways. Often people will put the Tibetan bowls on the person's body, and so the body's feeling the direct connection to that vibration. With the crystal bowls, some people do. I don't think it's necessary because they're so loud and they're so penetrating that you can be anywhere in a room and still feel that vibration, the actual sound vibration.
From what I understand, just doing a little research, is we get ill because our body gets out of balance, and there are blockages, energy blockages. So do the crystal bowls help remove those energy blockages, and if so, how?
Yeah, crystal bowls help to balance us or to rebalance us. If we're out of alignment, that's where we're feeling ill, whether it's physically or emotionally, and then so on and so forth, spiritually. And so when we're out of whack, because of stress or because of maybe an injury, everything is connected and correlated. And so the sound vibrations that come from these crystal bowls are perfect pitch. They are the resonance, the note of that part of the body, that seed sound. And so when we lie down for an hour and we're bathed in these sound vibrations, it's bringing ourselves back to alignment. And when we're back to alignment, it's when our brain can focus and think properly, and the intuitive healing process of our physical body and our higher selves can realign and has the spaciousness to work on ourselves, instead of when we're running around and we're busy, we don't have the time and spaciousness for ourselves to relax and self-heal. So the bowls give us that opportunity to bring ourselves back into balance, to self-heal, and so many more benefits come from that.
And that's what a sound bath is. You lay down and the bowls are played. It's not like you get into a tub or anything. You lay down and you play the bowls, and that's your sound bath. So you're bathing in the sound.
Exactly.
That is great. Now, I also read that you combine ancient healing techniques with modern day techniques. How does that work?
Yeah, so I like to be approachable to everyone. I don't want to only speak one language, because then there are so many other people that I can't connect to or can't relate to me, or vice versa. So I like to bring and infuse the things that I do that are more contemporary. Interestingly enough, the crystal bowls are kind of contemporary. If I'm not mistaken, they're around the 70s. the early 70s, around the 80s, they became a little bit more popular. But this is a newer invention. The Tibetan bowls are ancient, and I'm sure they've got their history from them. But crystal bowls are a newer concept. And it's not related to any religion or culture or tradition. It's simply a healing tool. Now, if I can infuse mantra, or positive intentions, or bringing in intentions collectively from the group that's there, and offering some intuitive energy through the sound vibrations, that's infusing some more ancient practices with something that's more contemporary.
Wow, it's getting a little complicated, but interesting. And so we're going to end this part 1, and then we can talk more about crystal bowls and healing, giving a demonstration so people can actually see what we're talking about. So thank you, Shalom, and don't go away.
You're so welcome.
Folks, thank you. So folks, don't you go away either. We're going to do part 2, and if you like our show, please watch Pauline interviews and tell your friends, and also we would love for you to subscribe if you like the program. And you can even send us some suggestions. So stay tuned for part 2, crystal bowls and sound healing. Thank you.